You wouldn't be allowed to do this today. A 7-year-old sitting in the back of a car, not even in a seat, just loose in the boot, watching the road disappear behind him. No seatbelt, no rules, no fear. And somehow, that was completely normal. But that was just the beginning. Because cars in 1970s Britain weren't just different. They were wildly unsafe, strangely designed, and full of things that would shock people. Today, there was a time when starting a car actually required skill. On a cold morning, turning the key wasn't enough. You had to reach for a small knob on the dashboard, the choke. Pull it out too much and the engine flooded. Too little, and the car would die the moment you moved. Every driver had their own little technique. A slight pull, a pause, maybe a tiny adjustment while listening closely to the engine. It wasn't written anywhere. You just learned it over time. Then suddenly, in the 80s, it all disappeared. Cars just started instantly, and that little ritual was gone for good. Driving at night had its own strange feature, too. Instead of using your hands to control the headlights, you used your foot. A button on the floor would switch between full beam and dipped beam. You'd press it without even thinking, especially on dark country roads. It made a solid mechanical click, something you could actually feel. After a while, it became second nature. But today, most people have never even heard of it. And then there were those tiny triangular windows. Before air conditioning existed, that little piece of glass was your only relief on a hot day. You'd angle it just right, and a stream of air would hit your face. It worked, but it came with a problem. It also made breaking into a car ridiculously easy. A simple wire, a quick flick, and the door was open. So eventually they disappeared, along with that raw feeling of outside air rushing into the car. Some features were all about looks. A vinyl roof, for example, was considered a luxury. It gave ordinary cars a more expensive appearance. People were proud of it, until the rain got in. Moisture would slowly creep underneath, hidden from view. By the time bubbles appeared, the metal beneath was already damaged beyond repair. What once looked stylish ended up destroying the car itself. Inside the car, comfort wasn't exactly a priority. Seats were covered in vinyl, smooth, shiny, and unbearable in warm weather. Sit down on a sunny day, and within seconds you were stuck to it. Every movement made it worse. Getting up felt like peeling your skin off the seat. But back then you didn't complain. You just dealt with it. And then there was rust. It didn't take years. Sometimes it showed up within months. Wheel arches, doors, even the underside, slowly eaten away. Owners would check underneath, hoping for the best, and usually finding the worst. It became so common that people started looking elsewhere, and foreign cars began taking over. Some ideas were just strange, like a steering wheel that wasn't even round. It looked like something between a rectangle and a circle. The idea was to give more space and better visibility. In reality, it just felt wrong. Drivers hated it. Even the police rejected it, and within a year it quietly disappeared. But the damage to the car's reputation stayed. Cars were also built around habits that were normal at the time. Smoking, for example. Ashtrays were everywhere. Front seats, back seats, and even built into the doors. And right next to them, a cigarette lighter. Press it in, wait a few seconds, and it popped out glowing hot. For kids sitting in the back, it was impossible not to notice. And yes, most people touched it once. Only once. Safety as we know it today barely existed. In many cars, there were no rear seat belts at all. Kids would move around freely, standing, lying down, climbing over seats. It sounds unbelievable now. But back then it was just normal life. Entertainment wasn't much better. Radios struggled to keep a signal. One moment you had music, the next just static. Drivers would constantly adjust the dial, trying to find something clear. Sometimes they did. Sometimes the journey continued in silence. Even the gear shift wasn't always where you'd expect. In some cars, it was attached to the steering column. That meant you could fit 3 people across the front seat. It wasn't smooth. It wasn't precise. But it made space for family moments that modern cars don't really have. Even the rear window had its own quirks. Thin lines ran across the glass to clear fog, but they didn't work perfectly. You'd end up seeing the world behind you in broken stripes. And if one line stopped working, it stayed that way forever. Small details made a big difference too. If any of this felt familiar, you already know how different things used to be. Tell me, which one do you remember the most? And which of these would never survive today?